All right, so I am getting ready to talk to you about zone of genius, zone of opportunity, and AI, artificial intelligence, right? Because it is all the rave now. And I think you may be struggling to figure out the right tools to use because there's more than just ChatGPT, right? And my mid journey. There's more than that, just that. And you may be struggling if you have not taken yourself through the zone of genius matrix, the genius matrix yet, right? And so I am getting ready to walk y'all through that. I'm on IG and then I'm also recording this for YouTube. So I have been going to a lot of AI sessions. I've hosted some, I've been on some fireside chats and some panels, all the things. And this kept coming up for me, right? That I think if you are struggling to figure out what AI tools to use, you might need to go through the Zone of Genius framework again and then go through my zone of opportunity framework again to figure out the best tools because there's all these different tools. Hey y'all, happy Friday. And so there's all these different tools that are available more than just ChatGPT. And I love myself some ChatGPT. And so I want to walk people through that again, right? And so when we're thinking about artificial intelligence, one, taking the fear out of it, two, using it to be more productive in our careers, our businesses, but then like also our personal lives, it serves its purpose in a lot of different ways, right? Like I'm not gonna have the whole like it's gonna take over humankind conversation right now, but I am excited about it because I've been able to incorporate it into so much of what I've done and have been doing as well as my teams, right? Stop, don't be hiding that you use it. Like literally let us pay for it so that you can focus on like higher level tasks, right? And so for those that have never gone through the Zone of Genius framework with me, I want to go through that really quick. And then I'm going to talk to you about maybe about 20 AI tools that I think could be helpful for a lot of the common things that keep coming up in the zone of incompetence, zone of competence, zone of excellence boxes for people. And that's really a process of elimination, right? And so I learned about the Zone of Genius quadrant from Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap. Then went on to study under Gay Hendricks and Kathy Hendricks for and become a certified Big Leap coach because it was one of the most transformational things in my life, right? And I wanted a deeper level of understanding of that. And so why I'm bringing that up is like, remember, do not expect results from work that you have not done, right? And so if you want AI tools to work for you, it's not a replacement of you. It's really to allow it to help you stay in the pocket of your genius and outsource everything else that's not it. And so some of that is like only humans on your team can do, right? But a lot of it is, well, AI can do that for you. And some of it is like, you don't need to be doing that. And no one on your team needs to be doing that either. Like, right. And so thinking through those four parts of it. All right. So zone of incompetence, really quick. Incompetence are all the things that you currently do that you have no business doing. You don't need to do this. Your team don't need to do this. You're the worst in the world at what you do it, but for whatever reason, you say yes to doing these things. Those are the things that are in your zone of incompetence. You should not be doing them. Your team should not be doing them. Your family should not be doing them. You are the worst in the world when you do these things. You produce, you either don't produce at all, right? Even when you say yes, or it's such a subpar product or service because you don't want to do it and you're not good at it. You actually probably hate doing the things, right? So zone of incompetence. Zone of competence is you know how to do these things. You have a level of confidence doing them. But there's so many more better people, companies in the world that are teams that are better at doing these things than you do. Can you do it? Yes. You have a level of competence in doing so. Should you be doing it? Absolutely not, right? And so I call those two things your zone of no return. Like you get absolutely no return on your time, your energy, your resources, your dollars, your people that you put towards doing those things, AKA zone of incompetence. Zone of competence is your zone of low return. You get little to no return on the time, the energy, the resources, the people, the dollars that you put towards doing these things. Can you do it? Yes. Can you produce something? Yes. It's probably not that great probably not going to get it done on time. It sucks the energy out of you to do these things, right? And so we always have to be very careful listening to our body when we do things, when we look at things on our to-do list, when we hesitate to say yes to something, or how quickly we say no to something because we realize that we shouldn't be doing it. And so those are two things, right? Your zone of incompetence stuff, like, stop doing it. And 9 times out of 10, it's stuff that your team shouldn't be doing either. Your family shouldn't be doing. And so I want you to be thinking about the things that are in your zone of incompetence box, not even looking for an AI tool to do those things, because you should not be doing them. Stop it. And what happens is we are people pleasers, right? By the time you become an adult, a grown up adult, right? Like, you pick up doing all these things that you shouldn't be doing. But because we don't want to let people down around us, we end up saying yes to things that suck so much energy, so much time, so many resources, so many dollars, so much potential and time of our team and the people around us to support us, by doing things that we don't have no business doing. And so, can you find AI tools to do those things? Absolutely. Should you? More than likely not. So let's write that box, or whatever brain dump that comes in that box, and just kind of put that aside. Your own competence things is, you know how to do it, and there's probably some things in that box that you should do. Well, someone on your team should do. You should outsource and delegate that to someone else, that your zone of competence is their zone of genius, right? And then the other part of that is not, well, what AI tools and resources and platforms and software, because it's not just AI software, but what software can you use in order to automate those tasks or make sure they get done? Because there are probably things that still need to get done. They just don't need to get done by you. Right? Like, they don't need to get done by you. And so, and then your zone of excellence is, you know what, you are really good at doing these things. You have a level of excellence doing so. And I know for some people this is a refresher. Y'all hear me talk about this all the time, but I've never talked to, well, except for at Prompt Camp with Hodge Flemings and Cynthia and the whole team over there. Such a great event, because it also pulled some things out of, like, how I was correlating the two together. And so, like, now I'm sharing it on IG because I haven't done that, right? And so your zone of excellence is, you're really good at doing these things. Like, you're really good at doing these. You probably make really good money doing this as well. When people ask you, can you do this thing in only the way that you can do it? You say, yes, yes, I can, because I can do it, right? But there's something, there's some sort of angst in your body, right? And sometimes it's in your mind, but a lot of times it's this tension and stress that you have in the back. Or at least it's always shown up that way for me. Or there's like this reservation that you have, or you constantly say to yourself, like, man, if I were to leave this earth today, am I leaving it all on the court? Right? Did I leave it all on the court? Did I fully expend my gifts, my genius, my innate abilities and talents, doing the things that are in this zone of excellence box? And if you can't definitively say yes, then it's your zone of excellence. It's not your zone of genius. Y'all understand? It's your zone of excellence, is not your zone of genius. There's another word for zone of genius, another term. It's also called your comfort zone. We've all heard it. You see the memes. We always talk about, like, get out your comfort zone, right? Or get comfortable being uncomfortable. Those things are said for a reason. They're talking about your zone of excellence. They're talking about your zone of excellence, right? And so your zone of excellence is tricky, because you can live and die in your zone of excellence and have a pretty relatively comfortable life, right? And to some people, there's nothing wrong with that. But for most people, you want to live an extraordinary life with your gifts and your talents and your time on this earth. And like Rebecca Butterfly Vaughn talked about last weekend at the Black Business Power Summit, the dash between the day that you were born and that dash, and then the day that you leave this earth, making that as big and long and rich and expensive and expansive as possible. And so if you feel like that, like, if you register to that, if that aligns with how you want to show up in life every single day, but more so with your time and your true gifts, then you know that you don't want a comfortable life, right? Disruption is a part of the process of you molding yourself into, like, your genius zone and your genius level activity, and staying in the pocket of your genius at all times. And so for me, one of the things that is in my zone of excellence is writing. I've written 5 books. I'm literally writing 2 right now. Yesterday I was just like, why the hell am I writing 2 books right now? 2 workbooks right now. And my scholarship story, I literally wrote my way to $130,000 in scholarships among like volunteering and all that other stuff, but 5 essays, right? And I can write when I'm really passionate. I can write when I'm really passionate or when I'm really pissed off. Any other time, the words do not flow. So that's in my zone of excellence. I've had a high level of success in doing so, but I would not be fully expending, right? Depleting all my gifts out of me, because that's what you're supposed to do. So more creativity flows through you as a result of your genius. None of that would happen if I was a writer or I just wrote all the time, right? It's something that I'm good at. It's something that people throughout my life have asked me to do, right? I had a stint as a hip hop writer at one point in college. I interviewed what's his name? Rick Ross in his very early days, and like the guys from Mobb Deep, and like interesting time in college, right? And so those things excite you temporarily, right? Or you have boost in points and times and with your life in which those things excited you, but there's not a constant flow of like, this is what sets my soul on fire. This is what excites me. This is what I have a sense of flow and ease in doing so, right? And so as a result of that, that's how you know it's in your zone of excellence box. And I have quite a few things that are in my zone of excellence box. I can do certain things really well. There's a lot of things that I've become very self-aware, maybe like you, that like, I don't have no business doing that. Like I actually make things worse when I do those things. Very self-aware. Those are things that are in my zone of incompetence box, right? My zone of competence box. Like I know the things that are in that, and there's a lot of things that are in that too, from a business standpoint, from a career standpoint, from a hobby standpoint, from a family standpoint, from a wife standpoint, from a significant, like you can do this drill down of going through the 4 quadrants in so many different ways of how it applies to your life, right? How it applies to your business, how it applies to your career, how it applies to your products, right? Oftentimes people do SWOT analysis, like do a genius analysis too, to make sure like how you're presenting that product or how you're selling that product or how you're making it or the way in which you're solving a problem, because you can solve a problem in so many different ways, like that you are in the genius zone of solving the problem in only the way that you can, right? Zone of excellence. And so there's all these tools that you should be using from an AI standpoint for the things that you write down in your zone of excellence box. Look at the things that are in your zone of excellence box and you ask yourself, because these are things that you should be doing, because it doesn't bring the highest level of value or return back into whatever the thing that you do. It brings a moderate level, but it doesn't bring the highest level. But those things still need to get done. If they are in your zone of excellence box in some sort of capacity, they still need to get done. And so that is your clue for outsourcing. And so what I've come to know, and Gay Hendricks doesn't talk about this in his book, and not a diss on him at all, but like most literature are full of incomplete statements or sentences or incomplete processes or solutions. And that's actually perfectly fine. That's why they write the second book and the third book and the fourth book and the fifth book, right? Or they turn into like they do all these different things, or sometimes that's all that they have in that moment. And that's okay too. And so what he doesn't talk about, but what I learned from applying it to my life and applying it to my business and applying it to the organizations that I run and that I sit on boards on, like all these different things, is that the first 3 parts are a process of elimination. They are a process of elimination. And it's very hard to identify what your genius is if you don't go through the process of elimination first. Because like, remember what I said earlier, as adults, we pick up all these things that we shouldn't be doing. We pick up bad habits. We pick up, people pleasing, like habits and things. And as a result of that, it blocks us from spending the time on our genius. It blocks us from getting the clarity that we need to understand what our actual genius is. And as a result of that, you don't get to spend any time doing it. And when you don't get to spend any time doing it, you're robbing the world of experiencing your genius, but then you are robbing yourself of the gift and the flow and the ease in which things will come to you as a result of being in the pocket of your genius. I cannot stress that enough, right? And so you pick up all these things, those things either need to stop doing it, have some really hard conversations with people, start building a team that supports you, and then start looking at AI platforms in which you can say, like, give this to ChatGPT, right? Or give this to Mind Valley, or give this to so many different things. Your zone of genius, and y'all, I speak on this to exhaustion because I love it, are the things that set your soul on fire, or the thing that sets your soul on fire. It is your innate ability. It are your gifts. It is when people say that they've been working for hours and it only feels like minutes, that it's only felt like minutes. That's genius that they're talking about. They may not know what that is in the moment, but that's essentially what they're talking about, because that is literally what it feels like. Like, you can be doing the thing for hours and days, and it only feels like minutes have passed by because you're so engulfed in your genius, right? And so our genius shows up for us in the exact same way in everything that we do. And so sometimes when I teach this, and I'm teaching this quite a bit this coming up this month in September, I'm kind of all over the place with it, in a really good way, right? And your genius shows up in the exact same way in every single thing that you do. And so sometimes when we tell people, or I'm walking them through identifying what their genius is, two things happen. And I'm going to go into some AI tools that I think can be really helpful to y'all. Two things happen. People think that it's a job title, and your genius is not a job title. It is the essence of who you are. And as a result of it being the essence of who you are, it shows up in the exact same way in every single thing that you do. When you start identifying, well, what are the opportunities that happen as a result of my genius, right? That's a whole other question. What are the opportunities that happen as a result of my genius? Or what do I want to happen as a result of my genius? Then that's where a job title comes in. I want this job as a result of my genius. I want to spend my time doing these specific activities as a result of my genius. I want to start talking to these two kind of people. I want to be in these type of rooms and only have these kind of conversations. I only want to eat this type of food. I only want to drive this type of car. I want to take 6 vacations a year as a result of my genius. Y'all picking what I'm saying? And so as a result of your genius being the essence of who you are, it's threaded through any and everything that you want. But it's the basis that unlocks all the other things. And that's why that's important, right? And so my zone of genius is being a solution-driven communicator. Those are the three things that kept coming up in the box for me. It sounds really sophisticated now that I say it, right? But it was like really messy. It was just like driven solutions. Like, Felicia, you love to speak. Like, you could do it for hours. But it's also how I've made like the largest level of like financial impact on myself and my family is when I fully realized that that was my genius. And that like, and then being able to synthesize is also a part of that, right? So being able to take very complicated information and break it down into a way that anyone can understand. And so I can have a conversation with a head of state about something, and I can have a conversation with a grandmother, a 90-year-old grandmother, about the exact same topic, and I can communicate it in a way in which both of them understand and they know what to do with it, and it's solution driven and not just focused on the problem. I realize that about myself from frustrations, and then also the things that set my soul on fire. And so for some of us, in order to identify what that is, you might need to do a time audit. And a time audit sounds much more sophisticated and nicer than what it really is, right? And so if anyone has done a time audit, y'all let me know in the comments. It's not fun, but it's so necessary because it gives you a level of clarity about how you actually spend your time. A massive level of clarity. And it's I mean, you can go on Google and download any random time audit. It's literally a spreadsheet that documents your day in 15-minute increments, or you can do it in 10-minute increments. And so for every 10 minutes of your time or 15 minutes throughout your time in a day, you write down what you were doing. Because we think like, you block out 30 minutes or an hour for a meeting and you look at your calendar of meetings and just be like, okay, I got 6 meetings, 3 Zooms, 3 in-persons for the day, and that's my day. And that could be farthest from the truth, right? There's all these things that you do. You may check Instagram for 15 minutes, which I know I do in the morning. I'm guilty of it. It is what it is, right? And so you may brush your teeth for 2 minutes. You take a 15-minute shower. These are things that are not don't often show up in our Google calendars, but they take our time, right? You may spend 20 minutes cooking or 30 minutes cooking, and like it's such a blaring, like, holy crap, that's what I do with my day. That's how I spend my time. That's what I'm doing. And so sometimes we need to actually take a step back and do that process first so that you better evaluate your time and what you're spending it on. And the things that you're spending your time on that are not your zone of genius tasks, they are tasks that are in your zone of incompetence or competence. And it gives you just such a clear picture. It's something free. It's very easy. It's very easy to think about the process. I would love to say it's it's easy to go through the entire day. A mentor of mine years ago wanted me to do it for an entire week, y'all. I would love to say I would did it for an entire week. I struggled to get it done for a day. And then I struggled to get it. I think I did it for a total of 2 days. That first day was so eye-opening for me. So eye-opening for me because I was like, oh my God, I did not realize I was spending, 3 hours in the evening on the phone, right? Or 3 hours watching Netflix when I could be doing X, Y, and Z. And so I think who said that? Was it Haywood? That said it will humble you. Oh, a time audit will gather your edges and humble you. Right? But it's so necessary, right? And so if you can find the time to do one and really kind of do one quarterly is what the recommendation is. At least try and do one this week or in the next 2 weeks. It doesn't take up as much of your time, but it gives you such a clear picture as to how you were spending your time, because there's so many things that seep our time that are not a part of our calendar. They're not our standing meetings. They're not a part of our time blocks or any of those things that stand in the way. And then you realize, like, hey, I can start that side hustle because, like, I spend 6 hours a day that is kind of unaccounted for on like a bunch of BS stuff that that are not bringing me the biggest return. And I keep feeling like I don't have the time. But if I stop doing these things, I now have the time to do it, right? Or I can sit on that board because I thought that I didn't have the hour a month to do it, but like clearly I do because I'm wasting my time doing X, Y, and Z. Or what you realize is that you can unlock time to do more of what you want to do and do less of the things that literally suck the life and living blood out of you. There's all these different things that become clarity when we really just kind of run the play of like moving things from being in our head to like actually putting it down on paper and creating a process or working through a process to be able to realize like, hey, I do have more time than I've given myself credit for. And I can commit better to this thing. Or I can do this, or I need to stop doing X, Y, and Z because it's not beneficial to me, right? All right. And so once you realize your genius, then you have to give it a destination, right? And so your gifts will make room for you, but you've got to tell it what rooms to take you in. Same thing with your genius. Your genius and gifts go hand in hand, right? And so your genius will make room for you, which is like, or the gifts will make room for you, which is like the biblical sense. And it's an incomplete sentence. It's an incomplete sentence or statement because it doesn't tell you that you got to give your gifts destinations and GPS coordinates and a map quest of where you want it to go. You got to give your gifts and your talents the exact same thing. It's not enough to just know that you're good at something. You got to map out what you want to happen in your life as a result of doing that thing, doubling down on that thing, declaring and standing in your conviction of that thing. You got to tell it where you want it to take you, and then use it as your North Star, as your guiding post of the next best steps that you need to take in order to get there and be able to operate in your genius at any and all times. And so once you go through that, right, then you identify your zone of opportunities. What's the activity that you want to do on a daily basis? How do you want to spend your days? How do you want to spend your time? How much money you want to make, so your zone of income, and then what kind of impact do you want to have as a result of being in your genius, right? And so there's your genius, and there are things that happen as a result of your genius. Is not your job title. It is the essence of who you are. It shows up in everything that you do, right? Being a solution-driven communicator, being able to read and digest very complicated information and synthesize it and communicate it in a way where people know what to do means that brands know what to do when I speak. Foundations know what to do. Entrepreneurs, my teams, communities, like all people know what to do as a result of when I show up, right? Fundraising, like all of these things then happen. So when I say choosing your genius doesn't limit you, it actually makes you much more expansive, because what you get to do is go deeper. You get to be deeper in your craft. And there's so many people that are so shallow in the things that they do because they're trying to do all the things, realizing that if they get to just clarity in their life of what their genius is, they can have everything that they want. And they can have a deeper connection to the source, and they can be a deeper source for other people as a result of being able to solve a problem for them in only way that they can solve the problem, because that is their genius showing up. And when you step into your genius, that's where you unlock unlimited income potential or unlimited revenue potential in your teams and in your departments and in your companies and in your career, because you know how to solve problems for people. You know how to solve problems for people in only the way that you do. And once you realize that, and I posted this quote yesterday, right? Like, if you are the best, no one expects you to be the genius. The genius. If you are the best, people expect your genius. Yes. If you are the best, no one expects you to be the cheapest. If you were in your genius, no one expects you to be the cheapest. But if you were the cheapest, no one expects you to be the best. And so genius and cheapness do not go hand in hand. Because if you needed to hire a cardiologist, you're not going around Google and typing in, where's the cheapest cardiologist? We don't do that, because we need that person to be operating in their genius. And as a result of that, we know that their genius is going to cost, because they have a level of mastery in the thing that they do. And as a result of that, they can solve massive problems, life or death problems for us. And so that's not just like limited to the medical field. That's literally any and everything that we do. Any and everything that we do. And so once you tap into your genius, people look at you different because you show up different. And that's not on arrogant or like bougie or ego. Like, it's not any of that. It's you being fully actualized. And so you walk straighter and you are more confident in what you're delivering, because you trust that you have the solution to people's problems in only the way that you do. And when you show up in only the way that you do, magic happens. Magic happens. And so let's talk through some of these AI tools, right? That I think when you're thinking of, all right, I need to stay in the pocket of my genius for as much as I possibly can throughout my days. Give me a second. I'm actually on a reset week, y'all. Our whole team is off. Black Ambition. We take we do 3 reset weeks a year, right? Like a full week off. Everybody's off. No one gets to like move their reset week around to another week. The whole team is off. No emails, no phone, none of that. And so I was actually, it's been a very busy reset week. So I am resetting for the rest of starting tonight, and then I'm going out of town and, get back on Tuesday or something. And so I'll talk about reset weeks another time, but we are on a reset week. And but I've been too busy for this reset week, but another time for another story. Anyways, I don't even know why I told you that. And so there's this list that I found by Artificial Intelligence ML that had like 100 AI tools on it, like just above ChatGPT and all the things. And I love ChatGPT. I use it. GPT, y'all know what I'm talking about. And I use it. I have the app. I have it on my computer. I use it as much as possible. And I'm now constantly in meetings when people ask questions. I'm just like, just throw that in ChatGPT, get that done really quick so that we can move forward, right? But there's all these other tools. And so when you're starting to look at like the box, right? Like your zone of incompetence, zone of competence, zone of excellence, zone of genius, identify what your zone of opportunity is. What I'm talking about you should be doing with AI is zone of incompetence, zone of competence, and zone of excellence are where you need to be looking at AI tools. Really, your zone of is backwards for me, so that's why I keep looking. Your zone of incompetence, you shouldn't be outsourcing any of this, because you need to stop doing all the crap that you put in this box. You suck at those things, and it's okay to suck at things. A lot of us suck at a lot of things. And our genius is our genius, and we get to go very deep in that and move on from that, right? And so let me just share with y'all some of the ones on this list. Some of them I have used, some of them I have dabbled with, and then some of them I haven't, but I put like a big circle around them because I think that they'll be very beneficial to me and my team. But then there's 100 on this. And so when I save this video, I will figure out how to link to this post so that y'all have it, right? And so Beautiful.ai, it creates stunning presentations 10 times faster with simple text. I need presentations done all the time, right? We're pitching to corporate partners. We have a lot of really great corporate partners. We're having conversations with other corporate partners for the organization, for our founders that we invest in, for the founders that are in halfway through the semifinals round. I will not wait to announce the top 50 companies and take that public, which will happen in a few weeks. Anyways, and so if creating PowerPoint presentations is not in your zone of genius, you're not a graphic designer, you don't like eat, breathe, and sleep Adobe and all Keynote and all those other things, but you know that's still something that needs to get done. People still want decks. Then Beautiful.ai creates stunning presentations 10 times faster with simple tools. Remember what I told you to think about when you go through this process and you start outsourcing or thinking about outsourcing to AI or bringing new people on your team, is what is it that only you can do and only the way that you do. And when you do it, it brings the highest level of return back into your organization. That is in your genius zone, whether you have gone through the process and you realize it or not. The other stuff you should not be doing, it costs your company more than it's actually saving it. It's costing your department in the company you work for more than you actually think that you're saving money. And so, all right, Beautiful.ai creates stunning presentations 10 times faster with simple text. ArcWise AI is a plugin that understands your spreadsheets and answers your questions. You want to talk about something that's in my zone of competence? Excel spreadsheets. I thought I was doing something right, outsourcing 15 years ago when I married a man who was obsessed with spreadsheets. My husband is obsessed with spreadsheets, can do things with spreadsheets. And I was just like, what did you just do, right? So spreadsheets are in my zone of competence. I know how to do them, clearly, right? I have to work with them, but I am not picking up a book to learn like any formulas in order to make this thing better. It's literally like, Derek, can you do this for me right quick? Or Fiverr, can y'all like create whatever? I'm not doing it. I know how to do it, but I'm not doing it. It's at the bottom of the list. I will procrastinate to the 9th hour if I got to create something in Excel, right? I have a Fancy Hands account that I've had for years, and anytime I need something put into a spreadsheet, I do that. And then now ChatGPT will put things into a table for you. Easy done, right? And so this one, where is it? ArcWise is a plugin that understands your spreadsheets and answers your questions. So it can mine through your spreadsheets and answer questions for you, which I think is great, right? And so that would be something that if I didn't already have solutions to solving that problem for me, I would definitely hop on because it's not in my zone of genius, right? StatBot, STTABOT, turns simple prompts into fully functional AI apps without writing any code. That's a good one. AI Intern is ChatGPT powered personal Slack assistant. That might be helpful for somebody, right? Travel AI, your personal travel assistant powered by AI. Whew. If your travel schedule looks anything like my travel schedule, and my assistant Alexis, bless her heart, not only manages my travel, but everybody on the team's travel, like the Jedi things that she has to do in order to get things done is absolutely mind-blowing. But maybe that's a tool for her, right? And so even thinking about, and I feel like it was Myron who told me this like last year or whatever. And so, sometimes when we're building teams, we immediately try and build the team to be broader. And instead getting your star people more help so that it frees them up so that they're working in their genius level tasks, right? And so sometimes you may have a really great assistant or really great executive assistant, or number two, or operational person, and like get them more support for the minutia things that they do to free them up so that they can focus on higher level executive tasks and give you an executive flow into any and everything that you're doing. All right. So your personal travel assistant powered by AI. Chat GPT for Google Sheets. I always say that thing wrong. I've given it its own name. Chat GTP for Google Sheets. Plugin, it's a plugin to supercharge your spreadsheets. I haven't used it, but then Chat GPT has all these plugins that are so dope. Like there's one that I just started dabbling with, and I cannot remember the name of it, but someone tell me in the comments if you remember, but it like starts creating videos for you, and I've been dabbling with it. Guide AI, create how-to videos in seconds and easily share with your customers or team. So think like Loom on like steroids, right? Which I love Loom. I think it's one of the best $10 I spend every single month, because I can just easily create an explainer video and get it to someone. This is what I'm talking through. This is what I'm thinking of. This is what I'm looking at. This is what I want you to do. It cuts so much back and forth. Flare.ai, right? So create branded content like product photos with AI photo generation. And this is not like those crazy, weird AI photo things. I tried it, y'all. I looked shit crazy. But this is for your products. It can save you a lot of time. Rask AI, translate videos into 60 plus different languages. Fireflies AI, which I feel like a lot of people are using. I'm seeing this pop up on Zoom all the time now when I'm on a Zoom session. So automate your meeting notes and boost your productivity during meetings. And so maybe you are a solo entrepreneur, right? And you are on a lot of really high power Zooms. People are talking really fast, and you want to be fully present in the conversation because maybe you're a sales ninja. Maybe that's your genius. But recapping the meeting so that you know what the next steps are, you can communicate the next steps to whoever else. So, like that might not be your genius. It might not even be your excellence. It might not even be your zone of competence. And so using Firefly.ai on your Zoom calls, it automatically creates the notes and boosts productivity during meetings. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down on that? And so my GPT by Sir Samurai. Access to plugins without paying for Chat GPT Plus. All right, here are a few other ones. Mayday, an AI-assisted calendar that helps you make time to thrive. I like that. Talkberry, your personal language tutor powered by AI. For any of you that are creating content that you want to be able to easily translate into other languages, like, come on, y'all. Which one is it? It's such a game changer. No, I lost it. Oh, Rask AI, which translates videos into 60 different languages. Imagine how much time it saves, but how much bigger of a marketplace it now makes your product or service available to, now that your content or your trainings or your products or services are available in 60 other languages without having to hire 60 different language experts to regurgitate the thing that you're already doing. You get to do it once and apply it to 60 different areas. Like, y'all, listen, right? And so this is why I get so frustrated with all the fear-based conversations around AI. Like, yes, the fear is real, but there are also daily fears that are very, very real and present danger, right? And I think the more that we can get people understanding the utility of it, we get more people excited about building the solutions so that this is something that is like the integrity of it, and as much as we can, is held onto, and we can put safe precautions in place. But we cannot continue to enter things fear-based first to the point that we don't even use it. I remember I was having lunch with somebody that was complaining about like AI and all these things, and I was just like, the complaints, I was just like, have you used it? And they were like, no, I haven't used it. I'm like, but how do you even have the gall to sit here and have a full-on conversation about how dangerous it is, and you've never even used it? you know how much easier it can give you a sense of ease and flow to running your business and running your organization. Then it gives you all the free time to then fight the good fight against like the bad stuff about it. But like, let it be, use it for what it is. It's a utility tool to make things easier for you, right? Okay, let me get off that soapbox. All right, Mayday, an AI assisted calendar that helps you make more time to thrive. I'll talk to that one, right? And so Talkberry, your personal language tutor powered by AI. Oscar, your personal bedtime stories. I didn't know about this one, but every night when I put my kids to bed, I used to do ocean sounds or like, sleep time meditation music, and it worked for a while. And now they don't even want me to read bedtime stories anymore. They want Siri to read, like put on a bedtime like story for them with the music and the care. I'm here for it. And so this one is Oscar, your personal bedtime stories, personalized AI bedtime story generator for children. I'm going to try that out and report back to you. But maybe that's not in your zone of genius. Like bedtime stories, it's okay if it's not for everyone, right? And so if it's not, maybe outsource that to AI so that you can have more time in your genius. Meet Geek, I'm sorry. AI generated summary for your Zoom, your Teams, and your Google Meet calls. Talk about that saving you some time. Speech Flow, multilingual speech to text API trained on more than 100 million utterances. Catch with a K, KATCH, AI call assistant. Maybe that's helpful to you. Recap It News, AI curated daily audio news, personalized and delivered to you. Maybe that's helpful to you. Maybe you run a podcast or something and you just need the news delivered to you in a way that helps you gather your notes and your show notes and all those things and be able to deliver that to people really fast, right? Or however you decide or need to use it. This one I thought was a game changer for people. So Write Release, and not trying to put any publicists or anyone out of business, but Write Release writes a free press release in minutes, powered by AI. And so, you can like imagine the stress that I've had writing press releases over the year. And I literally worked in PR way back in the day. So it comes to me easier than most. And I still hate writing them. I still hate reviewing them when the team puts them together, but they are necessary so people know what's going on and that you can raise the social capital of your entrepreneurs or your key people on your team or whatever you're doing. So you have to do them. And oftentimes, sometimes a publicist or a PR writing service may not work for you or may not be within your budget. And so Write Release writes a free press release for you in minutes, powered by AI. You probably plug in a little bit of information and then it absolutely goes to work. I've used Chat GPT in order to write press releases and they've come out really good. And so imagine a tool specifically around writing press releases for you. Listen, the other game changer for that, for someone looking for a side hustle or a publicist that is tired of writing press releases because maybe that's not their genius in their work as a publicist or a master communicator, right? And so, or communications professional or whatever, can you start charging people on your team, companies, customers, for like giving them press releases that are powered by AI, that are written by AI? Imagine how quickly you can do that and still charge what you're charging, but you just have this tool that is almost like your own army and team that delivers this for you. All you then got to do is edit it or review it, and then you send it to the customer, and you don't have to charge anything less than what you were already charging when you were writing from scratch, right? Okay, we're almost close to the end of this list. AI backdrop. So generate a hyper-realistic background for anything. Wisdom AI by Searchy. Generative AI chat for your audio and your video content. I love that. Oasis AI. Transform speech into perfect writing. Insight-based AI. Talk to your database, build analytics by asking questions. Butternut, these names are getting really funny, by the way. Butternut, and I didn't even talk about Camel AI and like all the other ones. Butternut AI beta, build websites instantly using generative AI. Let me know in the comments if any of these you didn't know about, or you're just like, this is the thing that's going to solve the problem and allow me to stay in the pocket of my genius moving forward. All right, I went through I went through that list. Okay. Oh, I think I finished. All right. I printed this off on Instagram, but if you go to artificial_intelligence_ML, 100 top AI tools from April to boost your productivity. That's where I got the list from. And from there, I just maybe about 25 that I'm like, these are really, really dope. I need them. My team needs them. And I think they would be helpful for y'all to learn and discover. And so that's it. That's what I wanted to share today. Right. And so I think before you start diving deep into all the all the AI things and get either analysis paralysis, get lost in the sauce of all of this, get overwhelmed, because now this world is about the open book test. It is about the open book test. The answers have always been available. And if you ever remember doing like an open book test in school, it sounded easier than it really was, because now all the answers are readily, and they've already been readily available. But now it becomes who can master asking the right question to the right platform at the right time to generate the answers and the processes and the skill sets and the tool sets that you need, and you know exactly what to do with it. So it's a little bit of it's a massive disruption, but it's a little bit of a game changer. And to some people, it feels like it's cheating a little bit, because we've been taught that if things aren't hard and depressive and struggle and like, then it's not for us. And that could be farthest from the case, right? You deserve an ease and a flow in your life and in your business and in your career, so that you can focus on higher level things and higher level contributions. I think what's also really interesting about this space, it's in a lot of ways, we're going to see a bigger emphasis on the creative class and creativity as a whole, right? Because now these things can easily get done. Well, who is creating the ideas? And if you think about the 4 levels of value, right? Imagination and communication at the top 2 levels of value. Implementation and I always forget implementation and implementer and manager at the 2 levels of value, the 2 lowest levels of value. The 2 highest levels of value are imagination, those that come up with the ideas, and those that can communicate the ideas. The ideas are here. Getting the basic stuff done is here. Now, what's going to be required are the people that continue to come with the higher levels of ideas on how we implement and do the things that we need to do in bigger, more impactful ways that reshape society, solve the problems of the world much faster than I'm moving around, because like the sunlight is like in my eyes, but like solve bigger, more expansive problems faster. Right. And so ChatGPT and all the AI tools are allowing us to solve problems faster. And then on the other end of that, it's pulling out more creativity to flow through us, because what it doesn't come up with right now are the ideas. You still need to feed it prompts. You still need to feed it something. And the output is what saves you time. Monergy. What is that? It sounds like a good startup name. It's money and energy, right? Someone take that and run with it. They save you time, energy, money, and in order to be able to solve problems faster. And so now that we have these tools readily available to us, this is our moment of obligation. What are we going to do with it? And now that it frees us up to solve some of the biggest problems in the world, wealth gap, homelessness, like hunger, like poverty, like the prison industrial complex, like climate change, like some of the biggest problems in the world can now be solved at our fingertips. And so it forces a lot of us to take the excuses out of the way as to why we couldn't do things, or why we felt we didn't have the potential or the capacity to do things. But then on the other end of that, it's going to force us to ask bigger, richer, more expensive, and more expansive questions about who we are, what we want, and the people around us. And so, yes, like Tony Robbins always says, the quality of our questions literally determine the quality of our lives. And what we've realized with any of these tools is the better the prompts, And the better the questions that we put in, the better output we get out, which is literally a part of our life's process as creators and creatives and people that create and build and solve problems every single day. And so I saw someone ask the URL. So this is a Instagram post, right? I literally just printed it off and like put my notes in there, all my notes and all that stuff. And then I marked off like 25. That's the ones that I went through with you, but there's a list of over 100. Artificial_intelligence_ML. And it's their list of 100 top AI tools from April. So this post is from a few months ago. I had it saved on my phone and I was like going through like all the cool stuff and like at least trying some of the things at least once to make sure it's like something that I can use or something that I can share with people. And so go back and look for that post. The first thing on the post is beautiful.ai because he's posted a lot of stuff since then. But go back to April and you'll find the whole list. And then when I save this video, I'll tag him on it, only rightfully so, because I went through his list. And so that y'all can just click on it and go right to the profile. And so I think there were some questions I did not address. Yeah, so what was the URL list? I got that to you. Yes, I will save this live so you have it and you can go back to it. We covered some good stuff today. Thank you for the info. I use ChatGPT now more. Yes. If I don't use that thing a few times a day, I don't think I'm productive anymore because it's not solid. I remember my brother had been telling me since last year for months, like, you need to be using this. I'm like, what is this other new thing? And then when I finally started using it, while we have like 3 weeks off for my team during Christmas break, I got like maybe 50 projects done in the span of like 2 or 3 days. And I was just like so blown away, right? And so the things that, are in your head that are like, oh, I should research this, I should do this, I want to complete this. And sometimes it's so hard to get it out of your head and into like your assistant or a team or a software or something. And it just made that process of the creative process go so much faster for me. And so happy to learn about me too. Happy to learn about right release. Say that 5 times fast. Okay, I think I got through all the questions, y'all. And so I will save this, like I said before, and then you will have it. And I think I got through. Hold on. Hi, Miss. My name is Felicia, not Alicia, but it's okay. I'm in the phase of a wellness and health startup as a junior in college. Congratulations. Are there specific tech and AI resources you recommend? Go to this list because I think there's some things that will specifically apply to you, right? And so my question to you is, what part of like the building process of your startup do you feel is inefficient and not in your genius right now? And then look for the technology, look for the software, and look for the people that can help fill in the gaps for you. And I think there's a lot of things from a productivity standpoint that AI just solves for people if they identify the areas in which they need the help the most. And so Guller Mocha, what's the reference on the creator, implementer, manager? Oh, so Myron Golden teaches something called the 4 levels of value, right? And so there's the implementer, there's the manager, there's a communicator, and then there's the innovator. And so the implementer I don't have time to go through this whole thing, so I'm trying to go through it really quick. The implementer is the person who does all the things, right? The person who your function is more like checking things off, right? Like you do things, but you're not creating anything. You're the person that literally does the thing. The manager is a person who manages all the people, manages all the things, right? The difference between the two and what he uses is the hotel example, right? And so you think of the implementer are the people that clean hotel rooms. The hotel cannot function without clean rooms, so they literally have the most important job, but more than likely they're paid the least amount of money given all the roles, right? And so that's the individual person. The manager is a person who is a level up that manages a bunch of implementors, right? They're managing the implementors. And so there's a level of compensation at the lowest level of the implementer level. There's a higher level of compensation at the person who manages the people that do the hard work, right? And then there's a communicator, the person that can communicate the ideas, communicate the vision, like that's a whole other income level. I think he says that's from like 1 million to like $10 million is like the income level for that. And then there is the imaginator, the person that comes up with the ideas. And so those are the 4 levels of value into any organization. All 4 are necessary, but the compensation and the value proposition for each one of those are completely different. And so you wouldn't have a business if you didn't come up with the idea. And you can come up with the idea in a lab, but if you don't communicate the idea through branding and through marketing and promotion and through speaking and all these things, no one knows what you're building, and you cannot build in a vacuum. And then the idea, being able to communicate the idea, then you need people to actually do the work, right? And those are those other 2 levels. I'm chopping up in the way that he explains it, but I fully understand the top 2 levels, right? And so his example with that is he uses an Apple example, right? And so if you think about, who's the most important person to Apple, the company Apple? And I'm saying this as I'm thinking through his example. Who's the most important person in the history of Apple? I'm waiting for somebody to type it for me. The most important person at Apple in the history of Apple. All right. No one's typing, so I'm gonna tell you. And so most people will say Steve Jobs. All right, someone said it. Simply Events. D. Nari, Steve Jobs. Gullimer, Steve Jobs. George St. Thomas said the customer or the consumer. All right, and so most people say Steve Jobs. Initially, that's who you would say. But no, Steve Jobs came up with the idea. He communicated the idea in a way that changed the game for any technology company. But Steve has left this earth for the past 10 years. No one says Steve Wozniak. Steve Wozniak is a person who built the technology. But Steve Jobs gets all the credit because he came up with the idea and he could communicate the idea. And that's a higher, different level to also look at the 4 levels of value. But the name that no one really ever says is Tim Cook. Tim Cook took the company from a $1 trillion company, whatever, into a $3 trillion market cap. Like, no one says Tim Cook. You don't really see Tim like in the presentation. You don't really see like him but the man took the company for a $1 trillion company to being evaluated as like a $3 trillion company. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down around that? And so when you think about how we value people's contributions, we value the ideas because without the ideas, you have nothing. And if you don't communicate the ideas, you also have nothing. And so those 2 things end up being at the highest level. And as a result of that, can command the highest level of revenue and income and salary. And then the people that end up doing the things, the mechanical things, the tactical things, oftentimes things cannot get done without them, but the monetary value in which they're able to extract because they are trading time for dollars. And so there's a limited supply in which you can trade your time for dollars. You only have 24 hours in a day, but ideas are endless. Being able to communicate them in as many platforms and in many ways are absolutely endless. You know who some of the highest paid communicators are? Attorneys. Some of the highest, like actors, musicians, they fall into that area. And we know what the highest level of income and return is for them. And they're creating literally something out of nothing. And so as a result of that, they have an expansive array of things that they can trade for dollars. And at the lowest level, we trade our body and our energy and our time that has the most limited value. And so we know when anyone wastes our time, time is a commodity that none of us can get back. And so when people say that time is money, that is farthest from the truth. because money can literally be reprinted. We have seen that, right? But what you cannot do is bring time back. Once it is gone forever. You can try and do all these things now to outsource and use AI to buy back your time. So time is infinitely more valuable than money. And so when you are trading time for dollars, you end up operating at the two lowest levels of value. And that stings hearing that. It stung hearing Myron say that for the million times I've heard him say it. And I still chopped up the way he said it. But y'all, I wanted to answer the question so that people understand. And then that applies to so many different things in what we do. All right, y'all, I'm getting out of here because I can't see the screen. But thank you. So who said Bill Gates when I was talking about Apple? All right, so let me save this. I'm gonna get a title slide for it and save it for you guys so that y'all have it. And I will see y'all next week because I'm going on vacation for the next few days because I did not do this reset week right. I ended up working a little too hard, a little too crazy, some crazy stuff, but all good. So, all right, I will talk to y'all later. Have a good weekend. Bye.